Hey everyone! So, the Flash is reborn. The Flash is reborn. The new episode aired last night, and oh my god, do we have a lot to cover. So, I already did kind of an in-depth review on my blog website, so if you guys want to check that out, I will have that linked down below in the description box. Now, let's get into the very first episode of Flash Season 4, The Flash Reborn. Okay, so it actually opens up with the flashbacks to what happened the previous season, which is essentially Barry going into the Speed Force and sacrificing himself and telling Iris, keep running, keep moving forward, and be strong like I know you can be. And it goes on into Iris saying, my name is Iris West. I was supposed to marry the fastest man alive. And it goes on to explain that she is now taking on a leadership role with the team. She is working in Star Labs with Cisco and Wally and Joe, catching metahumans, and she's making sure that things are under control and that crime doesn't spike in Barry's absence. So we see Iris actually taking a lot more control and a lot more in charge of everything that's going on. She's directing Wally and Cisco, and she's telling everybody, you know, this is what you should do. This, like, everything that she's doing is basically a leadership role, and I'm really, really happy that they took it in this direction, because, in all honesty, Iris needed some more character development, so I'm happy that we're getting it this season. I'm really happy and satisfied with what was presented last night. So I'm actually really, really, really happy and really looking forward to what else they're going to be doing for Iris in terms of character development. So I am, like, beyond excited about that. I think that it's going to be a really great season just from the first episode on. The first episode really, like, makes or breaks it, I feel like, and this episode made it for me. So so that's essentially how it opens up, and then it goes on into Iris saying to Joe, you know, what do you want me to do, Dad? Just sit around and cry all day? You know, we can't bury Barry at all. We can't bury him, because where are we going to bury? Where are we going to bury? You know, an empty suit in the lab? Like, what are we going to do about that? Like, she's definitely, I don't want to say, like, I don't want to say that she's angry, but I do want to definitely say that Iris is definitely a little bit colder this season, just because I feel like the reason why she's so cold is because of the fact that, that Barry left for the Speed Force. Now, I know there are a lot of people that are like, oh my god, like, why is she being such a hypocrite? You know, the world was going to end. Like, why is she acting this way? And I think that just comes from the fact that they never really had a conversation about anything. It just moved so quickly and so fast that she wasn't able to process any of it. She wasn't allowed to process any of it. She wasn't allowed to even have a conversation with Barry about it. It was just like, you know, this is the way it's going to go, and that is it. And I can understand why she would feel pretty cold about that type of thing. And then we see the samurai, the android samurai, and it's saying that it wants a battle with the Flash. So Cisco and Wally obviously try to take care of it, but in all honesty, they didn't do so well against the samurai. So Cisco reveals that he has been working on a plan to get Barry out of the Speed Force. He's been working with everybody: Felicity, Curtis, Dr. McGee, Harry, everybody. He's been working with everybody that he could that is technologically gifted to work on a way to get Barry out of the Speed Force prison. And I actually like the fact that he revealed that he's been working on that since Barry entered the Speed Force. It just comes to show, you know, he did that in preparation beforehand. I love that he did that in preparation, and he reveals, you know, we're gonna test this theory and see if it works. So, and Iris essentially is preparing, obviously, for the worst if it goes wrong. Because she's like, what if he's dead? What if he doesn't come out the same? In all honesty, she was honestly preparing for the worst. In the episode, she was kind of the Grim Reaper. In all honesty, let's be honest. But at the same time, I feel like she's also being pretty realistic, like mentally preparing herself for what could possibly happen. And so Cisco ends up tracking down Caitlin at a dive bar that she is currently working at. And we learn that Caitlin, she's sort of like, she's not necessarily back to normal in a sense, but she's definitely Caitlin now. Like, she's definitely taken on her old appearance before she became Killer Frost. But that doesn't mean that she's entirely back to normal, which we're going to get to at the end of the video. And so Caitlin and Cisco and Wally and Joe, they all go to Ferris Aircraft, going back to, like, the pilot episode. Pilot episode was where they went to the Ferris Aircraft landing strip, and they did Barry's very first test run there. So I love the fact that they did that as an homage to the pilot episode, where they have them go to Ferris Air. They go to, like, all these old locations that they went to before, and so I actually loved that they added in that touch. It just seems to show that they're going more towards the direction of what season 1 was, a lighter tone. I feel like season 3 was very, very dark. So they're going back to Cisco wearing fun t-shirts again and the jokes and everything like that. So I'm actually really happy with that. So they go to Ferris Air, try to pull Barry out, but the system fails. And Cisco's like, why did it fail? And then we see Iris, and she's pissed at everybody for not including her in this, because she's like, don't I get a say? Because, in all honesty, she is kind of leading the team. She is kind of the team leader now. So she's kind of like, you know, you guys went behind my back and did this behind my back. You know, like, I know that a lot of people out there are probably, like, annoyed with the fact that Iris is, you know, pissed at them for going behind her back and basically trying to get Barry out of the Speed Force without telling her. But in all honesty, in terms of respect for Iris, I do have to say that because she is team leader, she needs to have some kind of a say in it. But that doesn't mean that she's, like, going to make it or break it or anything like that. And so we then soon enough see Barry leaving the Speed Force, and he runs. He literally runs so much faster than he ever ran before. He hits himself into a car, and he is naked. Oh my god. And he has facial hair. Yeah, and then afterwards, Joe gets the phone call from Cecile, who reveals to him that Barry is now at CCPD. They got clothing on him and everything like that. And when they see Barry, he is not himself. And I wouldn't say that it's like a PTSD type of thing, but he definitely has lost a little bit of his sanity in this very first episode. Like, you can see the differences in him, like, completely different. This is not the same Barry that we're used to. And we just see him writing all these weird symbols on the wall, and he's saying all of these random things, like referring to Eobard Thawne killing his mom, and referring to Harrison Wells, Eobard Thawne, and all of that. And he drops several Easter eggs, especially. Like, there are several Easter eggs that he drops, like, we're gonna need more diapers, and that's a reference to his and Iris's twins, the Tornado twins. So if Iris ends up getting pregnant by the end of this season, and they end up having the twins, okay. But the thing is that he did drop, like, several Easter eggs during his, like, nonsense talk in this episode, and it's actually kind of a disturbing thing to see if you really think about it, because it's obviously Barry, but it's not the Barry that we're used to seeing. So when he's, like, talking all these things and then, like, freaking out in the next minute, you're like, oh my god, like, what is going on? Like, what is he saying? Why is he acting this way? And Caitlin has two theories. She has two different theories. They get him underneath anesthesia, get him back to Star Labs, and essentially Caitlin has like two different theories. One is that the nonsense that he's talking actually makes sense to him, or that he has dementia. And which is, like, the second theory is actually probably the closest thing to true. And in all honesty, I do have to say that, like, there are some funny things I actually do want to admit that were my favorite parts, but one of my favorite parts, the highlights, was when they played Poker Face by Lady Gaga as they woke Barry up from the anesthesia. And I thought that was really great because that's a reference to season 1, episode 1, where he wakes up from his coma and Cisco's playing Poker Face by Lady Gaga, and he says, oh, it feels appropriate. And Caitlin's like, oh, he was waking up from a coma, not anesthesia. So, two completely different things, but Cisco tells Barry, I made you a new suit, want to go for a spin? And Barry's obviously still talking nonsense, he's still freaking out and stuff like that. Iris obviously tries to get through to him because obviously she loves him, he's her everything. And so, Iris tries talking to him, and then ultimately, he just starts running around the whole entire facility at super speed, like completely faster than he's ever ran. He just bolted completely until he finally passed out, and they lock him into a containment cell in Star Labs. And next we see Wally trying to fool the Samuroid into thinking that he is the Flash by wearing Barry's previous costume, his old costume. And obviously, plan didn't work because in all honesty, let's be honest, Wally, yeah, and he fights nothing like the Flash. His fighting style may be similar to Barry's, but in all honesty, they're very distinguishable. And so the suit obviously gets torn up to shreds. There's no repairing it. There's no going back with it. And then we see, and then afterwards, we actually see Joe cleaning Barry up and trying to talk to him, trying to get through to him. And he says something about Cecile taking him to church and saying, you can't have strength without faith. And you notice over time all these religious parallels they put into the Flash TV show, all of these religious Christian spiritual parallels. You think of Barry entering the Speed Force as a form of sacrifice, as Jesus Christ going up on the cross, dying to save us from sin. And so the thing is that there are many religious, Christian, Catholic parallels on the Flash TV show. And then shortly after, the Samurai comes back as his 24 hours up, and Iris decides, you know what, take me, because I know that Barry will come for me no matter what state he's in. And so Iris willingly sacrifices herself to the Samurai. She willingly does that, and Joe rushes to Star Labs, grabs Barry, and Barry literally busts his way out of the pipeline prison, and he ultimately saves Iris and gets his sanity back. I think that ultimately Iris is his grounding force. I feel like Iris is that one thing that grounds Barry a ton, and that's his love for her. No matter what state he's in, no matter how insane he is, no matter how much sanity he's lost, he will always, always, always come back to Iris. He will always come back to her. And that is one of those things that I was really happy to see. And then in the end, we see Barry, basically telling Iris, I'm so proud of you for stepping up to the plate and essentially keeping my promise. Keeping that promise that we made to each other at the end of season 3. And then we see Caitlin, and she enters the dive bar that she has been working in, and she goes up to this guy that's like blind in one eye, and she tells him, tell this person, I am out. She's out. And it's revealed in that episode that she is actually working for the metahuman that they revealed for this season, who is known as... Wait a minute. The metahuman they revealed for this season that control metal. Let me think. It's not the mechanic. No. Anyway, like, the metahuman they actually introduced, that they're going to introduce, that control metal and technology, it's revealed that Caitlin is actually working for her. And the metahuman's name is Blacksmith, and she can control technology. And she essentially tells that person in the bar, tell Blacksmith, I am out. I am out. I am done. I am done here. And the guy essentially tries to put his hands on her and be, like, very forceful with her. And Caitlin ultimately turns around, her hair going full-on white Killer Frost hair. And she turns around and ultimately freezes the guy's brain by touching him, saying, don't you dare put your hands on me again. And then she leaves that bar, and she ultimately goes back to being Caitlin again. So it seems as though her powers have a little bit more control, and they have more of like an on and off button to them. So I wouldn't say she is in entire control of it, but she has a little bit more control. And I'm wondering if that has something to do with the villain Blacksmith teaching her how to control her cold powers. So that's actually going to be a very interesting thing to see. And I would love to watch the heck out of that. And then finally, we see the Thinker. And the Thinker, I do have to say, the Thinker, I was not expecting them to reveal him so soon. I wasn't expecting them to show him so soon. But in all honesty, they did it. And now on to some of my favorite moments. Obviously, some of my favorite moments included Iris taking control of the team and actually, like, starting to find her own independence. That's what I loved the most. So, Iris is finally getting some character development. I'm excited about that. I love that. And another favorite thing, when Cisco tries to translate what he thinks is supposed to be Gary's message, it comes to, this house is bitchin'. Yeah, this house is bitchin'. I laughed so hard when it came to this house is bitchin'. And it was just an awesome episode. I enjoyed it. There were tons of Easter eggs, tons of surprises, tons of those what the hell moments. So I am looking forward to the second episode, because second episode, Barry and Iris go to couples therapy, and then we meet Danny Trejo in the form of Breacher. So we're going to be meeting Gypsy's father in this second episode. So I am so looking forward to what's to come. And there are rumors that Wally West is actually going to be joining the Legends. So I'm curious to see that. But yeah, so that was basically my review for The Flash Season 4 Episode 1. And if you guys like this video, you can comment down below and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys in my next review video, which will be for Arrow. So keep your eyes peeled for my Arrow reveal video, which will be coming up Friday. Bye, guys!